You ever have one of those mornings where you wake up, stumble toward the coffee, and realize someone's just blown a hole straight through the heart of your life? Yeah, me too. Only in my case, it wasn't just a bad day. It was my bridge gone snapped clean in two. No warning. No, hey, hope you don't mind. Just chainsaws in the dark, and the kind of silence that makes your teeth hurt. What they didn't know, these HOA geniuses, these suit and tie bandits in neon vests, was who they just started a war with. You might not believe it looking at the boots and flannel, but I'm a retired prosecutor. 16 years arguing with people who lie for a living. I know how to find a missing permit. I know what an easement means, even if most folks couldn't pick one out of a lineup. And I know exactly which phone calls make the folks in the county office start sweating through their collars. So let's rewind to the morning it all went sideways. Sun hadn't even climbed up the ridge yet. I'm jolted awake by a noise somewhere between thunder and the crack of old bones giving out. I swear my heart didn't beat right for 5 minutes. I run down the hall, swing open the door, and what do I see? My bridge. Well, what used to be my bridge. Now it's just splinters and shattered beams floating off downstream like a funeral procession for a piece of my family's story. And standing on the other side, clipboard in hand, was Linda. Of course it was Linda, president of the HOA, Queen of Three Pines Meadow Estates. She had that look, smug, nervous, a little too neat for someone who just happened to witness a bridge collapse. Survey tape fluttering in the wind, bulldozer sleeping like a guilty dog, fresh stakes in the gravel. Didn't take a genius to put it together. See, I'd warned them Linda and her board keep their hands off the western edge of my land. That bridge wasn't theirs. Built by my grandfather in 1974. Reinforced with a county permit, no less, when I was still in law school. It was the only way in and out for the livestock, the hay trucks, even the propane delivery when the snow piled up. But lately, the HOA had a new best friend, a developer with a taste for lakeside resorts and zip lines and anything else that sounded like profit. And the only thing standing in their way, my bridge. I tell you, I stood at the edge and took a breath, long, cold, heavy, pulled out my phone, started recording, timestamp, date, location, evidence, cut beams, fresh machinery tracks, unauthorized access. When you spend enough time in courtrooms, you learn document everything. And I did. Turned the camera on myself and said, "My name's Davis Harland. This bridge was destroyed without consent. I believe this is criminal trespass, willful destruction of property, and conspiracy to obstruct legal access to deeded land. I'm preserving this for court." It's funny, old habits die hard. So here's where things get interesting. Before 8 a.m., I'm digging through drawers for my grandfather's deed. The topo maps the permit from '96 with the county stamp. Scanned, labeled, uploaded one by one. I even pulled the SD cards from the wildlife cameras out by the tree line. Not for deer or elk this time, but to see who was brave or dumb enough to trespass at 2 a.m. And there it was. Grainy but clear enough. Headlights sweeping the lower road. 3 figures in hard hats, flashlights moving like they had a schedule to keep. Chainsaw roaring at 2:31 a.m. Not vandals, pros. Quick, silent, no wasted motion. By 9, I had a report filed with the sheriff. By 10, I'd sent a public records request to the county office. All permits, inspections, communications, anything tying the HOA or their anonymous contractors to my land. I wasn't just mad. I was on the hunt. Now, you ever meet someone who just radiates old friend you can trust with a secret or a shovel? That's Marshall. Retired bridge engineer. Owed me a favor from back when we were both too stubborn to retire. I called him, told him to bring his drone and his best poker face. "You think it's going to get ugly?" he asked. "Already is," I said. Back down at the creek. Linda's got company men in neon vests. Someone pretending to be a county inspector flipping pages like they've got a permit to wave around. I filmed them, didn't say a word until Linda finally turned my way, trying to act like it was just a routine erosion check. I told her flat, "You're standing on private land. That sign's not for decoration. You just crossed into a legal mess you don't understand." She turned red, but she left. That was the last easy day for her. That night I started the file. Labeled every photo, every clip, every scrap of paperwork. If they thought they could tear down my bridge and bulldoze a path to profit, they'd pick the wrong man. Next morning, the HOA tried their hand at corporate theater, delivered a certified letter, all high and mighty denying any responsibility. claimed the bridge was a deteriorating fixture probably sabotaged by anonymous parties, for public safety. I read it twice. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was textbook. Deny, deflect, delay. Hoping I'd just get tired. Bad read on me, Linda. By noon, I was in the county engineer's office, permit in hand, maps, deed, the whole pile. The clerk's eyes got wide. "This is a legal crossing," she muttered. "Yes, ma'am," I said. "And the only one for emergency access to the east side." I left her with a stack of questions and hit the back road home right past the so-called resort. Wasn't a lodge anymore. It was a full-blown Operation Cabins Wellness Center, service roads all creeping closer to my line. Marshall showed up at dusk, drone ready. We sent it up over the pasture. And what do you know, gravel roads straight as a ruler slicing right through my lower field, not even pretending to stay on their side. Markers flagged parcel merge scribbled on them. They weren't just pushing, they were erasing the lines. "You gonna sue?" Marshall asked. "Not yet. I wanted them to go a little further. Let them dig their own hole." That night I wrote up an affidavit, filed complaints, pulled overlays comparing the drone shots to the old county plats. I dug through the HOA's board meeting agenda online, found a line about trail realignment and shared infrastructure. That's code for take what's not ours. Next morning I found a new sign zip-tied to my fence, notice of future access path. Right. I took a photo, then cut it down on camera. Evidence. Because you don't get to steal a man's bridge, then post signs on his land like you're the one doing him a favor. Days passed. I got quieter. The world did too. That kind of quiet where you know you're being watched and watched over. I dug into the permit records, hours scrolling through bad software, but what I found made my skin crawl. Emergency permits filed in a rush, signed off by a greenhorn inspector. No real reason, just a loophole in the HOA rulebook that lets them declare an internal emergency. Turns out my bridge was suddenly their risk. I filed for every scrap of correspondence between the HOA and the county. Requested expedited review. Mentioned possible fraud. That speeds things up if you say it right. And then the kicker, a buried water pipe newly laid running across my field toward the resort's utility shed. 17 feet inside my boundary. They weren't just stealing land. They were tapping into my water rights. That's when I knew this wasn't just a mistake, it was a coordinated grab. The name on the developer's paperwork was a familiar one, Bryce Tannerson, the kind of guy who uses a dozen LLCs to make his tracks disappear. One name led to another, old HOA board members suddenly running consulting companies' payouts with no invoices, shell vendors with addresses that traced to P.O. boxes, and nobody home. So I started tracing the money. Called in Wyatt, forensic accountant, sharp as they come. He found the holes, contracts paid out to ghost companies, budgets realigned every time a new check got cashed, invoices for trail repairs that never happened. Linda's own nephew running a shell company pulling thousands for studies on land they didn't own. You want to see a community wake up? Publish that. I made a binder, copied every document, mailed it to every HOA member. Do you know where your dues are going? 3 board members resigned. Recall petitions started. People who'd never said a word in years were suddenly at my gate asking how to vote out the whole rotten bunch. Still the county stalled. The silence up the ladder was louder than a chainsaw. That's when I turned to sunlight. Sent everything to a reporter. Local paper lit up HOA accused of trespass, bridge destruction, and water theft. The calls started coming in, some threatening, some grateful, all scared. Because once you shine light in the right corners, the rats run. It snowballed. Inspectors came, measured every inch of the line, found violations, easement, breached water pipes laid without a permit, foundation poured across a protected corridor. Stop work orders posted in orange and black. Linda showed up in her Sunday best, tried to talk her way out of it. Didn't work. The evidence did all the talking. When the audit dropped, it was ugly, over $400,000 in misused funds, 5 years' worth of repairs that never got done. Linda's nephew flipped for immunity. The judge called it systematic fraud. The community voted to dissolve the HOA, replaced it with a cooperative one, where nobody cared what color your mailbox was, only if you showed up for road maintenance and the annual potluck. And the bridge? We rebuilt it together. Not just me. Ben brought his tractor. Carmen, her boys. Marshall, the blueprints, the county, some spare lumber. Took 4 weekends and a lot of thermoses of bad coffee. But every plank we laid, every bolt driven in felt like driving a stake through the old way of things. When it was done, we didn't name it. Folks started calling it Harlan's Crossing. I never corrected them. You earned some names. I guess if you're listening to this, maybe you've never had a bridge taken. Maybe it's something smaller, your fence, your vote, your say in how things get done. All I can tell you is document everything. Don't fight alone. Find your neighbors. Ask what they've seen. Knock on doors. Bureaucrats and bullies, they don't fear a fight. They fear proof paper trails and the one stubborn soul who won't quit. Justice isn't a single swing of the hammer. It's every little act, each file, each call, each time you refuse to let the lie stand. In the end, I didn't burn a thing. I rebuilt. And I made damn sure, with the help of everyone who cared to stand up, that no one would ever try crossing that line again. Now let me ask you, where's your line? How far can power go before someone finally stands up and says, "No more"? Ever had to fight for something that was yours all along? Tell me about it. I've learned one thing. The only thing more dangerous than a man with a grudge is a community with the truth. Let's hear your story.